And with that, we welcome to the program Scott McKay, publisher of the Hayride, contributing editor at the American Spectator, and his new columns, By Mike and Things Just Keep Getting Dumber, Don't They? So, Mr. McKay, what do you think when you hear this? They're finally speaking for the first time, and they actually took this news crew to the scene and reenacted everything.
Well, what I would say is I think Dave Chappelle told it better. I like Chappelle's version with the Jussie Smollett.
French accent.
Oh wait, Scott, guess what? We're going to deliver your favorite part of the Smollett case.
Can you imagine if you was a police veteran taking this kid's police report? Okay, Mr. Smollett, please tell me what happened. All right, 2 a.m. You left the house at 2 a.m. It's minus 16 degrees. All right.
Actually, minus 29.
You were walking. All right. And where were you going? Subway. Sandwiches? That's when the men approached you? Did you see them? Do you have any? Okay, what do they have on? MAGA hats! MAGA hats on in Chicago?
Chicago. No one wears a MAGA hat.
1 second, Mr. Smollett. Frank, come here for a second. Find out where Kanye West was last night.
But that was good. But in your article, you mentioned Jussie Smollett now serving as a EEOC consultant. And you mentioned that there's a local story that you ran across in Louisiana. Can you explain that to us?
So yeah, well, if you've got any experience, and I don't claim to have much, in and around an industrial plant like an oil refinery or a petrochemical facility or something, what you know is there's always scaffolding and there are always contractors in there working on the machinery and whatnot. And contractors who do those things bring tools, right? And you don't want to carry all your tools up to the top of the scaffold. So what you do is you hang a rope down to the bottom and people put the tools on, you pull the rope up, and that way you can use the tools you need. Well, the easiest way to do that, if you're not using the specialized stuff, is to make a slip knot on the end of the rope. And that way you can tighten it or loosen it as you need. Except slip knots often look like hangman's nooses.
Yep.
And so 5 times over the past 4 years at the ExxonMobil oil refinery in Baton Rouge, there have been reports made of hangman's nooses hanging from scaffolds at the Exxon plant, which I'm sure have very little to do with racism. At least that's ExxonMobil's perspective. But the EEOC is now suing ExxonMobil for racial discrimination because of the hangman's nooses hanging from the scaffolds.
And we have a similar situation here at the Obama's presidential library construction site. And I call them at least maybe once a month now. It used to be once a week. Hey, have you gotten anywhere with the noose allegedly found at the Obama site? And they're like, no, still investigating. Secret Service is still investigating too. But what I was told from my insider that they had an electrical cord that they hung up on a nail, and the electrical cord was it had a loop at the bottom of it.
Right.
And that might have been mistaken, or they're looking at the fact that it's a pulley that you use it. Wasn't this similar to what was found in Bubba Wallace's garage?
Yeah. I mean, we've now declared war on slip knots.
Not the musical band.
As a nation, it's which I think tells you a little bit about like the lost skilled trades in this country. Although based on the enrollment at technical schools vis-a-vis the enrollment at four-year colleges, I think we're about to rediscover those. But you had so many people in this country that didn't know how to do anything with their hands anymore that they actually rushed to think that, oh, that's a hangman's noose, right, and it means that the Klan is back in town. It's a Slipknot.
And the Klan were Democrats, by the way. I always want to remind people of that. Nobody always forgets. No, they're Republicans. Like, no.
Do you know how many black people don't know that?
Really?
I've spoken to many different places, and they had no idea.
They had no idea that Klansmen were all Democrats.
All Democrats. They had no clue because the Great Switch. The Great Switch. Remember, don't
Oh,
forget
the Great
Barry
Switch.
Barry Goldwater and the Great Switch, and when they switched and the Democrats who were Republicans became Republicans. The Republicans that were that.
And,
So
and
that's what
now
happened.
this is
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's Lee Atwater and this Southern strategy and all of this kind of stuff. But what they don't realize is that somebody who was a middle-aged, 40-year-old voter in 1960, when the South was nothing but Democrats,
Right.
is an 80-year-old voter probably dead.
Yeah.
In 2000, when the South really started voting Republican.
Right.
So it's a totally different generation of people that actually turned the South Republican.
Yeah.
And the idea that the Democrats became the Republican, no, the Democrats died. And if they did, they probably still voted Democrat.
Right. Exactly.
And are still voting Democrat 50 years later. But I mean, it's a different generation of folks. It's not the same people.
Right.
And of course, they know this. They're not that stupid. They just think you are.
Right.
And that, it's the thing that always drives me nuts about the Democrats is I get that your voters are that stupid, but the rest of us are not. And please stop trying to patronize us and snow us under because
Right.
you're not that good at it.
Right. I call it the chicken little boy who cried wolf racism. Everything that they find because what it does is it discounts the actual cases of racism,
right.
And
Right.
Wait, it takes investigators away from real
it
cases.
does. And I mean, there are
Jussie
cases out
Smollett,
there.
I mean, Jussie Smollett, that investigation cost more than $200,000+.
Yeah.
And our Cook County State's Attorney, Kim Fox, who's backed by Soros, by the way, just dropped it. You know what? We're just, dropping charges. No, he committed fraud. He lied to police. That is a crime.
Yeah.
And then he had his trial, I think it was last December, was sentenced to 5 years, 2 years probation. But while they were appealing the case, they let him out of jail on bond. I think he spent 2 nights there.
Oh.
So we're still going through that whole thing. So you also wrote an
Yeah,
article.
well, he did his community service critiquing the podcast of the Rainbow Push Coalition, which I'm not in Chicago, so I'm not part of the community, but I'll bet you guys feel very served by that.
Yeah, I agree. You also wrote an article at Spectator.org called "Bye Mike." I personally don't think Mike Pence has a snowball chance in where as president.
HE double hockey sticks. Is what we call it.
HE double hockey sticks.
Thank
All
you.
right, I love that. It's not sugar honey iced tea though. But I mean, your article, I think it goes into great detail to show why the missteps that Mike Pence had. I mean, Trump put him in charge of COVID, and he outsourced it to Fauci and Deborah Birx, and then they came back and bite him and Trump. Why do you think Mike Pence is a loser and has no chance to become a serious presidential contender?
Well, first of all, the strategy that comes out of this Politico piece, where he's at the Gridiron dinner in D.C., which is all of the sort of self-congratulatory media elite types, who hate Republicans, and he's going to go in there and basically say, "Hey, I hate Republicans too," right? That does not win. I mean, it has gotten some people the nomination in the past, but that you're talking about 2008 and 2012, where you really didn't have a very strong field. You have a strong field now, so you actually have to make Republican voters like you if you want the nomination, right? John McCain's not going to cut it this time, and the people who handle Mike Pence seem to think that this is a John McCain type election. And I don't understand where they could possibly get that attitude, that they think that, hey, let me back into the swamp so that I can be president, when the entire Republican Party has completely swore off the swamp. I mean, if Donald Trump is not the nominee in 24, Ron DeSantis will be. And those are the two most vociferous swamp drainers that you can find.
Right.
And that's not different from 2016, when if the nominee wasn't Trump, it was going to be Ted Cruz, who was also a iconoclastic anti-establishment Republican.
Yeah.
And Mike Pence is of a bygone era. I mean, if you listen to the guy talk, he sounds like George W. Bush. And just doesn't get it. He spent 4 years as Trump's vice president and did not understand why he was there in the first place. And his handlers are no better. So yeah, he's a joke. But it's so irritating to see these people who call themselves Republican standard bearers doing the same stupid things that got the party in a position where Barack Obama was able to be president for 2 terms in the first place.
Yeah. I love the quote.
Because the American people just have no interest in that kind of Republican.
Yeah, I love the quote you have in the article by Mike over at thespectre.org from Tucker Carlson. You need to be really wary of candidates who care what the New York Times thinks. I would also add the Washington Post as well. I wouldn't.
Yeah, and Politico and CNN and yeah.
Exactly. Be wary of any of those candidates that are concerned what these people think about them running for office. I agree. Great point.
All right, Scott McKay.
Yeah,
let's go respond,
sure.
please. Sorry.
No problem. See you guys.
Oh, okay. That was a good response. All right, Scott McKay, publisher of the Hayride, contributing editor at the American Spectator. His recent columns, By Mike and Things Just Keep Getting Dumber, Don't They? And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you hungry? Looking for something sweet to eat? Well, guess what? We have great cookies for you. The incredible aroma that was followed by the delicious taste. Like the cookies Grandma used to bake. You can just taste them, can't you?